Nigel Clark explains public sector increases.
To the salary scales for the leadership across the public sector. And bear with me while I just give a few examples. And I've brought some of the salary scales to share. In the police force, the salary scale for the deputy commissioner, before you consider other things, has moved from 9 million to 10.8 million to 14 million to 17 million, effective April 1, 2023. The salary scale for the superintendent was 5.6 million to 6.7 million. And for 2023, that's now 9.5 million to 11.6 million. For the deputy superintendent, who used to be at 3.3 million to 4 million, that's now at 6.2 million to 7.5 million. For the legal profession in the public service, Madam Speaker, the legal officer 6 has moved from 4.9 to 5.9 million, as at April 2021, to 10.1 to 13.6 million. The legal officer 5 has moved from 4.1 to 4.8 to 10.1 to 13.6 million. In the nursing profession, the salary scale in the leadership, Madam Speaker, has moved from, in 2021, 3.5 million to 4.2 million to 9.25 million to 10.995 million as at April 2023. For the second layer in the nursing profession, not just the leadership, it was 3 million to 3.6, and it's now moved to 8.25 million to 9.8 million as at April 2023. For medical doctors, and here I talk about not the consultants who earn much more than the other doctors. They used to be called junior doctors. We just call them doctors today. The salaries before this reform at the highest level of the medical doctor profession, the salaries, were 3 million to 3.6 million in 2021, and we have moved those now to 8.2 million to 9.8 million. The salary scale for medical doctors at the MO2 level were 2.6 million to 3.1 million, and they have moved to 7.3 million to 8.7 million. The salary scale at the MO1 level was 2.2 million to 2.7 million. That's moved to 6.3 to 7.5 million. Madam Speaker, it's necessary because the media hasn't really done it for us, even though the information is public. And I just think in coming to address salaries that we know will gather headlines in the public domain, it is necessary to put out information, Madam Speaker, where we have addressed salaries in the leadership levels of the public sector. And just to continue, Madam Speaker, the salary scale in the teaching profession, Madam Speaker, and I'll spend a little more time on this one, for principals of tertiary colleges, salaries were 4.3 million to 4.9 million, and those have moved to 10.4 million to $13 million, Madam Speaker, for 2023. The salaries for principals of the larger secondary schools used to be 2.9 million to 3.4 million, and those salaries are now 8.5 million to $10.9 million, Madam Speaker. The salary scale for principals of the smallest secondary schools used to be 2.2 million to 2.6 million in April as at April 2021. Those as at April 2023 are now 5.6 to 7.2 million dollars. So 2.2 to 2.6 moved to 5.6 to 7.2. Madam Speaker, the salary scale for secondary school vice principals has moved from 2.1 million to 2.4 million as at April 1st, 2021, and I will provide all this information. I don't want to circulate it now because it will just distract a little bit. But I think members of this House need to be armed with all of this information. Okay? From vice principals from 2.1 to 2.4 million to 4.6 million to $5.8 million as at April 2023. For the large, and it doesn't stop at the secondary schools, for the largest primary schools, salaries have moved from 2.4 million to 2.6 million as at April 1st, 2021, to 7 million to 8.9 million as at April 1st, 2023. Madam Speaker, salary scales for principals at the smallest primary schools, which used to be 1.7 million to 2 million as at April 1st, 2021, are now 5.6 million to 7.2 million as at April 2023. For the Master Teacher 1, salaries used to be 1.6 to 1.86 million, and now, Madam Speaker, as at 2021, and now as at 2023, they're 4 million to 5.1 million dollars at April 2023. And Madam Speaker, this is just a small sample, just sampling the leadership in the public service. I could go to the leadership in all areas: probation officers, aftercare officers, medical records clerks, etc. Across the public service, Madam Speaker, we have, among other things, moved the leadership of the public service up in compensation because of the findings of the market survey by Ernst & Young, that they were furthest away from market. And out of anecdotal experience, the dire problem we are having in the public service with attracting and retaining the kind of leadership that we need. We have continued to align salaries for these critically important functions with corresponding benchmarks in the administrative public sector, as has been the case over at least 50 years, Madam Speaker, and this alignment will result in significant changes. Madam Speaker, it was bold of the government to undertake this public sector compensation reform in one go across all arms of government, and it is also bold to implement these changes that I've announced today at this time. Madam Speaker, we believe these changes to be in the best long-term interest of Jamaica. It is not about who occupies these positions today. It is about the quality that Jamaica will be able to attract and retain in positions of political leadership at all levels, tomorrow and beyond. This compensation restructure, Madam Speaker, is an investment in our future. We hope, Madam Speaker, that more qualified and experienced Jamaicans will find it attractive and financially feasible to offer themselves to serve their country through the administrative public service or through the political directorate. In this way, Madam Speaker, Jamaica is leading the Caribbean. There's no other Caribbean country that's implemented a public sector restructuring of the kind that we have, that has moved compensation levels in the way that we have.
The proceeding is an excerpt from the sitting of the House of Representatives sectorial debate presentation by the Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. the Honorable Nigel Clark, on May 16, 2023.